Welcome to the Canadian Culture Centre. I co-curated this exhibition with Alain, Thibault, Artistic Director of the Electra Festival and Biennial, in collaboration with Catherine Bédard, who is the Chief Curator of this exhibition space. The exhibition being titled Decision Making. This is really the right moment to make the important decisions, considering AI, data, robots, climate change, and etc. There is also a subtitle that is L'instant décisif, to focus on this very short amount of time that we have. All these artworks have something in common. They are really connected to the society we live in, the societies that are really faced by the technologies that are current technologies. But they also give keys to understand the world we live in. There are decisions that are made by people together, by people collaborating with machine, but also we have not to forget that there are decisions that are made by machine alone. So this exhibition is really about the idea of decision, artworks, digital art, contemporary art. Embryogenèse polygonade by France Cadet. This is really about the evolution from here to there, or the evolution of the humankind. In the future, we might have some different parts of the body, or that could be mechanical. So this is definitely what is here, and the question is how we are ready to evolve. How should we evolve? What are the questions that might be triggers by this idea of evolution of the humankind? This is a robotic arm that counts human. The title is interesting. Human need not to count anymore, I should say. By Varvara, who is from Estonia, and Mar, who is from Spain. So the idea is that I remember when I was young, for example, in the subway in France, seeing people literally counting us, or right now, having some people at the entrance of aircraft counting us. Of course, for this kind of jobs that are very repetitive, machines might be more adapted. But the question is also in the title, if human need not to count, what we need to do. And each time we replace a human by a robot, we of course have to think about social issues. So this robotic arm is exactly questioning us about all these matters. By Maija Tammi, who is from Finland, these 4 pictures, these 4 photographies are titled, it's a series, one of them is human. As a matter of fact, she took these pictures in a research laboratory in Japan. So the idea is to decide who among these 4 might be human. These pictures were taken in a research laboratory in Japan. And what I feel like is very interesting right now is that a few decades ago, we could have asked who might be the robot, the machine among humans, referring possibly to Blade Runner or some series like Invaders. But right now, the question is not anymore who is the robot, who is the synthetic character. The question right now, among this population of kind of people, who is not exactly human. When we look at them, we look at details, and we know that this is about the uncanny valley. We know that the more they're close to us, the more we project us in these people. But at the moment we see the very detail here, or another detail here, we're scared. So this is the idea of having them more close to real humans. And when we see the very detail that tells us that they're not totally human, we get scared by them. So only one of them is human. All of them are robots. This is the audience to decide. David Spriggs is Canadian. Here is a violin, and there is a suitcase. What I really appreciate by looking at these kind of sculptures that are kinetic sculptures, considering that by moving there are different ways to look at it. What is also very interesting is that it refers to the security door where there are people scanning our things, our packs, backpacks, possibly a violin, possibly a suitcase, because it really looked like some X-ray imagery. And what is really interesting is that it refers to technologies, but there is no technology here. We're just in front of sculptures made of layers. And here we could connect it to the decision of the one that is looking at inside your suitcase and that will decide to allow you to cross a border, allow you to enter an aircraft or not. These people at this very moment are very, very powerful. Marie-Ève Levasseur, living in Montreal, created some kind of tattoo parlor. The title of the artwork, An Inverted System to Fill, and a subtitle, My Shared Agenda. So the idea is about speculative design. What if in the future we could tattoo the skin by inserting some nanoparticles inside of it and give the possibility to the one to change the body, to change the skin, to change the color of the skin. In some kind of situation, in some situation, it would be very helpful. But also, let's take care of it, because if we could have the control of our skin, possibly hackers could hack the skin and could take the control of the skin. So it really scares. So all these kind of artworks, including that one of a speculative design, are questioning the possible future of humankind, of the skin, of the possibility that if we would control it, of course, it would be possibly hacked. Rafael Lozano-Hemmer, pretty well known in the field of digital art. Living in Montreal, the title of the artwork, Bilateral Time Slicer. This is about time. This is about different times. At the origin, an idea, an artwork, some mask, Aztec mask. These masks being usually made of three times: the present, the past, and the past. In the painting, Italian painting, for example, there are so many paintings created about this idea of different ages. So right now, I'm just entering the artwork, or let's say re-entering it, and right now, my image of now is pushing the image of a few seconds ago. And if we would let this artwork alone, some people that entered the image earlier might reappear again. What is very interesting also is that Rafael Lozano-Hemmer is very interested in art history, but he's also interested in video surveillance. And what is pretty funny here is that everybody accepts to enter an image, enter an artwork, and entering also the database. But maybe these people wouldn't accept to enter any database in the street, in some public space, or even private spaces. So there are different layers, different times inside the artwork, but there are also different layers in this kind of real-time artwork, meaning the reference to Aztec mask and the reference to video surveillance in the world we live in. Aram Bartholl is a Berliner, so the question that he asks us is, are you human? This is a very question that usually robots ask us when we want to enter a website, a service, register, or whatever. We have known this kind of captchas or recaptchas by Yahoo or Google or others. What is interesting is that this is referring to the idea, the test by Alan Turing after the World War II, and of course the test that we have to submit. Let's say that a long time ago the idea was to know if it is a machine or a robot by if it is a machine or a human by a human, but right now this is a machine that allows us, that decides to allow us to enter the internet or not. So what is also interesting here is that these grids are made of an image that we couldn't choose where are this or that, like we're using to doing. And here is not a question, but here is a sentence that the artist, Aram Bartholl, took inside of his spam mailbox. So, but what are these landscapes that come possibly from some picture photography databases, platforms? Here, we can understand that this is a border, possibly between two countries, and God knows that borders nowadays are pretty important. And this captcha, or that one, could also be considered as a border, a frontier, that someone, in that case the robot, decides, has the power to decide if we can enter or not, if we can use or not. So this is definitely about some kind of passage. La mécanique d'évaporation des rêves by Véronique Béland, who comes from Montreal, but who lives in France, exactly in the city of Poitiers. There have been some dreams collected in a university, west coast of the US, and she took this kind of database, this data set, to ask a machine with a programmer to dream like humans. And as humans, the dream disappear progressively until this paper come back to the beginning. So this is exactly what happens. Each time we awake and we want to remember, to recall a dream, it disappears. The more we would like to think about to go back to the dream, the faster it goes, it disappears. So the machine writes dreams that are made of human dreams, gathered all together, reorganized. So in a certain way, the machine dreams by itself. And the same way we dream, the dream disappears progressively. So this is like human, but because we built machine, the machine are also made of some kind of memory, let's say the read access memory or the cache memory that frequently is erased. Here is an artwork by Jean Dubois, who is a Canadian artist from Montreal, teaching at UQAM. That is named Tourmente. This is the contact of the artwork is inside my cell phone. So now, let's call Tourmente and see what we can do. The artwork is waiting for us. And right now, I can blow like that. Many people did that. What is very interesting here is that he decided to choose different people representing the diversity of the people living in Montreal. Young, older, female, male, homeless, and etc. And he blows some hair, some very powerful hair on their faces. And the moment that I really prefer is after the air. They're in some kind of peaceful moment after, I would say, the hurricane. And, but also this is interesting because in the period of time we live in, blowing at the face of someone was, I would say, a decade ago, not that polite. But right now, it would be more kind of criminal. And by looking at these people, by mentioning that we have this power to act on themselves, of course, in different times, question us also about the responsibility that we have in the relationship with people that we don't know, with people that we see the face online on different social media, for example. Baron Lanteigne, living in Quebec. The title of the series, Tangible Data. The title of the installation, Augmented Protective Pouch. So, the artist has been involved in NFTs for a moment. And at the beginning, he was interested not only of the service of the platforms selling to art collectors directly, but he was also interested in the relationship between artists and collectors, or even in the kind of correspondence, in the fact that they are usually writing to the other, exchanging essentially on Twitter. So here are some Twitter exchanges between artists and collectors. Here is an artwork that also does exist on Super Rare, the NFT platform, and here is the apparatus assembling the exchange, the artwork itself, the installation, and this 3D kind of liquid animation that is beautiful and that is representing the world, but as if the world would literally melt. And one more thing that is interesting to mention is that the way he is made this installation existed at first as a 3D computer animation on the NFT platform and is about the NFT subject, and right now this is inside an art center, inside the white cube. So there is some kind of loop from NFT to the platform and to the art center at the end of it, while at the same time this kind of animation could be looked at on the NFT platform. By Pascal Dombis, French artist living in Paris, The Invisible Generation, referring to William Burroughs, who with Brian Geisen invented a process that is named cut-up. With the cut-up, we can, by reassembling some contents, initially text, but also sounds, or right here, images coming from the internet, that the artist collected. He collected a large amount of images, and this is up to me to choose through this window, through this lenticular grid, I can look at a fragment. So finally, we could also refer to cinema industry because I am editing the artworks the way I want at the moment, at this very moment. So this is really physically that I control these images to reveal the very fragment of a world of images that we know continues beyond the limit of the artworks. It says the way that we are totally surrounded by images, but it also refers to the data centers, the continuous flux of content, of images that are on the planet, or I should say around the planet, thanks to fiber optic cables from a data center to another, and right now I can choose the fragment, the window inside the world, the window that I'd like to look at this moment. So this is definitely some kind of kinetic artwork that I can look a way or another from here or there to get some different, very different representations. All we'll ever need is one another by artists living in Montreal, working in Montreal, Adam Basanta. All we'd ever need is one another trio, because another version is in the collection of the Museum of Contemporary Art of Montreal. The idea is to assemble a few flat scanners, and they're right now making some portraits of the other. Each portrait, of course, with a certain verticality that has been done with some random settings by the artist, automatically, entirely automatically. These images, the result is sent to another machine, to another computer, and thanks to a generative adversarial network, only those reaching more than 83% of similarity with an existing masterpiece of the 20th or the 21st century is allowed to be printed. After that, possibly that will be framed. So my opinion is that the machines are really good at redoing. Are they that good to create, to initiate some aesthetic revolution? My opinion is that for now, artificial intelligence might be very good as a forger, but not that good as an artist. My opinion is that the only artist right now, right here, is Adam Basanta, the human. By Sabrina Ratté, sharing her time between Canada and France. Floralia 3. At this very moment, it is also exhibited another way at La Gaîté Lyrique in the center of Paris. So the idea is to represent nature, flowers, trees, lilac. They're beautiful. But around them is some kind of virtual cubicle, like if it was in some museum of the future where nature would be preserved. So this is in a certain way kind of pessimistic if nature in the future would be only represented inside some museum of the future. But this is also beautiful. And it also refers to cubism, because we can really enter the inside of the image and look at the flowers when they're totally fragmented from the inside, from any point of views. The camera, the virtual camera being in motion, we are also in front of it in motion, and these are some kind of loops from the very beginning to the very end, from the nothing to the nothing. In the middle, some fragments. At the beginning, the flowers or the trees. At the end, the flowers of the trees. After they appear, before they disappear. But the thing that is always represented, finally, being this kind of showcase, this kind of virtual space that we can always see thanks to these lines that we're used to using to represent perspective. So it also refers to the representation, the prospettiva, I would say, in Italian. So for me, it also refers to the Renaissance, the Italian Renaissance, or up north, the Flemish painting about flowers, Dutch painting about flowers, I would say. By Naomi B. Cook, Canadian living in Paris. A triptych, red, green, blue, referring to the monochrome, the question of one of the painting question of the 21st century. So here is about Tinder where we decide who we want to meet or not to meet. Here is about a large data set of email exchange by people working at the Enron company, and that one being about the fast crash that happened during the 2000s, and we don't know exactly, but it could have been triggered by a trading bot. So all of them, the green, the red, the blue, they're about the idea of decision in the context of finance, in the context of companies, in the context of using an application to dating. Or this data set is used right now to train artificial intelligence. So it means in this Enron corpus, some of these email are liars. So this is funny to think that we are right now using the Enron corpus with some possible liars to train some artificial intelligence.